Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Sebastian Oros. He is a business coach, team and organizational strategist, and a senior consultant at the Intention Collective. Welcome to the show, Sebastian.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome to the show, Sebastian. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk about. We'll be talking on leadership and organizational growth. So, Sebastian, to understand from you as a business coach, as a team and organizational strategist, you help leaders expand their impact and build trust. You have been into this line for 19 years, working with people and all the experience that you have got. Coaching leaders, talking to leaders, has it become much more easier or much more challenging in today's time, looking back, say 5 years back?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. So, looking back, for me, AJ, it kind of started with in my own home. So I was born in a different country. I was born in Romania. We came to the United States when I was very, very little. And we came to a small city in New York, and then we moved to Illinois. So I'm right outside of Chicago. And so leadership started very, very young for me in terms of all these different avenues. I'm a Romanian kid, but I'm being led by my mom and my dad mostly in my home. But at the same time, I'm in the United States and watching other parents lead their children in their homes. And so there was a lot of confusion for me in terms of how am I going to grow up, or what do I want, and how do I see my family and my future home? And so it's changed a lot in terms of skills. It's changed a lot in terms of what we know is effective today. And so, what we do know that is effective today, AJ, is that 3/4 of our effectiveness as leaders come from two different areas. And one of those areas is being inwardly sound, and the other one is being others focused. And I can dive into that a little more if we like to, but those two areas are what make an exceptional leader.
Right. So now, in terms of coaching these leaders, when you are talking to them, what are the challenges that they generally come to you for, Sebastian? It will give an insight into the present system of leadership, the way leadership is facing challenges. It will also give us an idea of the existing trends.
Sure. Yeah. So that's a good question. So I would say, in no particular order, but I would say one of the major challenges is how we show up at our work, at our job, due to all of the other outside factors that we have going on in our life. Right. So how do we compartmentalize and separate the two? Well, you really can't. It's really, really difficult. Right. So for example, I'll give you a quick example here. If my wife and if I do something to irritate my wife in the morning before I go to work, it's on my mind. I drive to work. Her and I maybe have not settled whatever the irritation is, and I go to work. It's going to be on my mind for a while. It could affect my effectiveness in a meeting. It could affect the way I communicate with others. It is on me in terms of my emotional and mental well-being going into work. And so what I'm saying is one of the challenges for leaders that we have is that we have so much going on, not only within our organization, but so much outside of our life, that how do we balance all of this in order to be an effective leader? Yeah, so that's one of the challenges. I would say one of the other challenges, the primary challenges, is how do we stop doing or thinking that we can do it all, right? We feel like we can do everything in all things, but that's just not the case. And sometimes we need to make sure that we delegate, or we put tasks in people's hands, and make sure that we know our own people and delegate according to their strengths, if that makes sense.
Right. Indeed, it makes sense. Let's understand it in this way. What are the demands of a business coach in today's time? Is it about, only about the leader, also about the teams that you do? You are
Yeah,
a team and organizational strategist.
sure.
A leader's problem can always be his problem, but not necessarily his team and organization's problem. So how are these two things? Many a times they are the same, many a times they are dissimilar. So how do you look at leaders' problems, team's problems, and the organization problem, and give suggestions according to that? That is what the leader will come to you with, that demand. So that's why I asked,
Yeah.
what are the demands of business leaders in today's time? It's only about them, about how they balance their work life as well as business life, or also in terms of the growth, because the demands of business are also very high, especially also in the backdrop of the great resignation, the quiet quitting, and everything else related.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, through one-on-one coaching, some of the things I was saying before, whether it be with a leader, whether it be with a leadership team, whether it be with employees, some of that stuff happens in the one-on-one coaching in terms of some of the personal things going on, or some of the things in their organization. How can they communicate better with their team or a leader? Or how can they enter in meetings more effectively with a strategic plan? So we're just not sitting around and saying, "Oh, how's today going? How's that going?" Right. So that's one thing in terms of one-on-one coaching. The other thing is that there's several assessments out there to help with teams and organizations in terms of culture and in terms of working together. So and this is just one example, but we have a few assessments that we use with businesses and organizations to help teams identify where their challenges are, where their strengths are as individual employees. And then we would sit around and do a workshop and sit around at the table and make sure that we understand each other. Make sure that we understand that my coworker on my left operates this way versus my coworker on the right may operate this way, based on their personality or based on how their makeup is. And so understanding each other in order to grow our culture, working as a team, because what we know is, right, if our culture is right, you get more productivity, effectiveness, and it affects the bottom line in terms of the business and scaling it and growing it, right? One last thing I guess I will say about this is that implementing a framework for businesses, particularly small businesses, implementing a framework that really holds the leadership team accountable is something that is very, very important in terms of scaling a business. Because how many times, AJ, have you been in a meeting before in your life and you sit around the table and it might have been a great meeting, but you leave with a couple to-dos or this or that, and nobody holds you accountable, or you don't hold yourself accountable, or, and the next time you meet, you might not even bring up the topic again, right? So having an operational system that holds people accountable in order to scale and move the business forward is really important.
Right, Sebastian. So let's understand this thing called the business operating system. What does it consist of?
Sure.
And how do you build up this business operating system? Also, at the same time, people will think, okay, I already have so many automation tools. Why do you need another business operating system? I have got my best practices, I have got my team. Help us understand vis-a-vis these two things in today's time.
Yeah, sure. Good question. So here's what I would say. We use a system called System and Soul, an operating system called System and Soul. And so basically there's 6 elements to this system. You have your design, okay? And that really gets the leadership team, gets them clear on how we are going to move together. That's the structure, the process, and what bets are we going to make in terms of the organization. And then we have what's called the cadence. So what I'm describing now is the system side, okay? Well, and then we have the cadence, and that's at what pace are we moving? So we have objectives, we have team objectives, we have individual objectives. Are you a healthy fit for the right seat that you are currently in right now? That is something that we need to look at within an organization. And then we do weekly sync meetings. So every single week, an operating system, we add to the hold people accountable in terms of, are you working on your objective? What got done last week? What's got done this week? And what's going to get done next week? Right. So every single week, do you want to be that person, AJ, to show up at the table and not have worked on those? No. Right. So accountability is huge. And then we have on the system side what's called SCORE. How are we measuring our progress, the company's progress, our individual progress, and the team progress? And then we have what you and I have kind of been talking about, which is the soul side. So we have destination. Are we going in the same direction? Where are we going? When are we doing this? And why are we doing this? And then we have the fifth element, which is called ethos. We got to know who we are. Do we have an idea? Are we aligned with our values? Does everybody in the company know what our values are? Or is it just a piece of paper that sticks on the wall from 20 years ago? We have not revisited those values and we're actually not implementing those values. And then we have the people side, right? The culture, the problem solving, and the leadership skills. Are we growing in a healthy way together? So that's really the operating system in a nutshell in terms of how we are able to not only scale the business, but to really scale the health of your team.
Right, Sebastian. So when does a person like you come in? When there is a lot of problem, or when the problem is yet to begin, or it is a healthy thing to get going as soon as you start your business? I want to understand, when do you fit in the best?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So right now we work with many businesses, and it's actually been all of the above, AJ. Actually, so we've worked with many of the businesses are startup businesses, right? But however, we have been in touch and working with businesses that have been around for 7-8 years or so, right? So I don't know. I wouldn't sit here and say that you have to have us step in at this point. But I will say, because here's the thing about businesses and organizations, and I'll include schools in this as well, right? Here's the thing about that is that leadership changes so much. People change positions so much, right? And so when you have new people coming into new positions, what happens sometimes is that they have their own agenda, correct? And so now there may be some, and the agenda might be great, but it might create some confusion or this or that. You might get pushback. So sometimes a consultant or a consulting firm may need to come in and help push these healthy objectives forward in order for everybody to stay aligned. And so to answer your question in a nutshell, both. So.
Right, Sebastian. So tell me a bit about, the Intention Collective, what this is all about. It's a nice name. So I want to understand the reason behind this name. It's a nice name, nice intention. I hope people understand the intention, that it's time to, change everything about the organization, because a lot of new demands are coming in from the new generation.
Sure. Yeah, no, great question. So the Intention Collective, our founder, Zach Montroy, he lives in Tennessee. And so he's been doing this type of work for many, many years. We have about 6 or so people on the team. We're dispersed a little bit throughout the United States. We have many offerings. And so one of the offerings I've already spoke about was leadership coaching. We do many workshops as well, team workshops, to really dive into the grind of the team dynamics in order to help you move along in a healthy way. So we have many workshops. We offer the operating system that I've already kind of told you about. And so we are a small company that really values people and really values health of organization. And because we have a passion for that, it does not seem like work to us, because we love We love what we do. We've all been in jobs that we either didn't want to wake up in the morning to go to, or we left very upset, or whatever the case may be, right? And so we want to help organizations really filter all of that out and make sure that everybody can wake up in the morning. And honestly, we're all human beings. Just wake up in the morning and go to a job that we love to go to. And that really starts with people and the culture within the organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Sebastian. So those people who would like to understand more about you, more, and want to connect with you in terms of getting your services, what is the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, so you can either email me at sebastian@intentioncollective.co. That's sebastian@intentioncollective.co, or you can visit our website at intentioncollective.co. And then we are all over LinkedIn. You can Instagram, all the many other platforms, but the easiest way is either my email or the website. And on our website, we have all of the offerings that we offer. So
wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me.